$5 million debts, Ponzi scheme allegations, narcotics and hedonism, spending other people's money, consignment promises broken. With all of those headlines the hot topics of conversation, it's not been the brightest of weeks in the news for the grey watch market. Hi guys, I'm Vinny, welcome back to the channel. Now last week I opened the video by saying, hey, I'm Vinny, a watch dealer, trying my best to clean up the act of the watch industry. Well, it seems that's a much more difficult thing to achieve after just a week on from that video, with the seemingly cavernous hole that the secondary watch market has now plummeted in. Really new depths of shame, disgrace and embarrassment. I didn't really want to address any of this soap opera that has been going on. We've all followed it, Luke, we've all followed it because it's been impossible to keep our eyes away from. I want to talk about it because I believe it is relevant. It's relevant to the secondary watch market because there are so many people now that have spoken to me this last week and said, look, Vinny, I've had enough of the secondary watch market and I'm just not going to buy a watch now and trust the secondary watch market in general. Now that really has irritated me as a dealer in the industry and really quite pissed me off because I work hard to do my best to establish a reputation for myself and to try and keep a clean image of transparency, honesty and respect between clients whom are collectors and enthusiasts just like myself. Really what I wanted to do was to take some time to analyze, assimilate and understand what it is I feel about what's been going on with this entity in the United States, who I shall not name, but you know who they are. You really have to question absolutely everything that you see. Question what you are hearing all the time and question what is truth, what is lies, and what is the exaggerated version of the truth. Now, I believe 90% of what is out there on social media is either lies or exaggerated truth. Only the other 10% is absolute gospel. There is allegedly a £5 million debt that is now owed to clients of this entity. Do I believe that that 5 million is real? No, I don't believe it is 5 million because it just seems too much of a juicy headline, almost too perfect. Now we know that that 5 million is broken down into two parts. You've got a £3 million so-called investment from investors and another 2 that is owned to consignees. From my perspective, as a former accountant, I would understand that as well. The investors have either purchased shares in your company and therefore it is an investment, it is a risk like any other investment, and that money isn't actually due back, or it's been provided to the company as a loan. And in many of these cases, as with my own company as a director, I provided a loan to my company on startup. There's no caveats to that. It isn't due back for as long as I say it isn't due back. Automatically, immediately, that £3 million in my mind was questionable. Now the other 2 million, we know that there are creditors who've stuck their head above the parapet, and I really do feel for these people. You know, they have consigned in good faith. I have actually spoken at length on this channel about the consignment process. And I have always said, I don't believe it is safe. I don't believe it is bulletproof. And there are many, many problems with it. I myself have consigned with other dealers at the peak of the market when everything was rosy, when watches were selling almost easily. They were selling themselves. I've consigned watches, they've come back to me damaged, bracelets have been removed, scratches, boxes, serial tags missing from the package, and of course those watches therefore came back worth considerably less, thousands of pounds less than when I handed them over. Now, I learned my lesson from that and haven't consigned since, and I've jumped on this channel to say consignment is a dog. What we do offer is a service that I think is much better, and we call that virtual consignment. So as far as I can see, when you come to sell your house with an estate agent, real estate agent, you don't hand over the keys to your house to the estate agent. They don't take ownership and hold that house for you whilst it's for sale. No, that estate agent basically acts as a marketeer. They come out, they photograph your house, and then they market it across all of their platforms. Now, with what we offer, we call it virtual consignment, we do exactly the same with the watches. Why isn't this something that can be rolled out and is more common in the industry? I don't know. So what we do is we take photographs, we market the watches on virtual consignment. The client will have the watch back in their possession. They'll agree to 14-day time frame that we've got to make all efforts that we can to sell that watch. If we have a bite and somebody interested, they'll send that watch in to us. We sell it. If we don't sell it, then it gets sent back to the client. So that is much more risk-free for both parties. Clearly, the industry as a whole has become reliant, and I've said this weeks ago, on the consignment process while the market has taken a slump. And that means that now, guys, to consign your watch with a secondary market dealer is riskier than ever. The other thing that I would say as well is in the United Kingdom, it's actually really difficult to withdraw funds from a business that belong to the business, go off, enjoy yourself, spend it, and to do that continuously, because in the UK, we have to file annual reports to HMRC, the tax authorities, and any little bit of money that we withdraw has to be explained. Now, I know that here in the UK, we're actually subject to international financial reporting standards, as is the rest of Europe. In the United States, they operate on a more profit and loss statement focused accounting system where revenue is king and it's not all about profit, which is a little bit weird because profit is the whole point of business, and it seems that this entity in the US has been caught up and entranced by the revenues they are achieving, which absolutely means nothing. If you spend money, you have to spend money, speculate to accumulate, and what you accumulate has to be more than what you speculate. Question everything from now on. You need to question everything that you see on social media. I've gone on the channel only a few weeks ago and said this: there is a lot of fake news and frankly bullshit coming out of the mouths of certain dealers. Right now, guys, one of the main things that I would advise you is to really whack your bullshit filter right up to 100. So what are the key takeaways then for collectors, people who are interested in buying, selling to the secondary market, and dealers on the secondary market? So let's start with the clients. First of all, as I said, you need to really do more due diligence than ever before. Right now is a risky time. If there are dealers that are taking on consignment, the market is down, it is more likely than ever before that they'll go bust. So you need to really weigh up and do your research. Here in the UK, you can have a look at Companies House to look at the financial statements yourself. I've gone on the channel before and had a look at the financial statements of some UK-based dealers to really see how well they manage their debt. You may not be able to understand all of that. One thing that you can understand, though, is how long have these businesses actually been operating for. If they've been operating for many years, decades even, then they are more likely to be trustworthy. Another thing that I would say from my own experience in this industry is the ones that you can trust more are the guys who are really more invested in watches because this is their hobby, because they are nerds, because they're enthusiasts, quite like myself. You know, I got into this because of a passion of watches I've always had my whole life. They're more passionate about what they do beyond just selling, being a salesman. And I think we also run the risk in this social media age that we are attracted by lavish lifestyles, by popular people, by those who have high followings. If they have a high following, we may follow them also. We trust them. But it goes beyond that, because we actually want to be associated with people like this entity in the United States because they are the sexy figure of the industry. They are somebody that, you know, seems to be the successful man and paints all of this picture, which, as we know, has been a complete lie for the last couple of years. Naturally, that's a human instinct. We do not want to gravitate towards those more boring individuals, those who have more of a generic face, those who don't drive around in Lamborghinis. And I've got to say, in this industry and in life in general, the more boring people are usually the ones you can trust a little bit more. Consignment for me is something that I know will go on, it will continue, it isn't dead, particularly in this current market. Dealers need it. So if you're going to go down that route, you're convinced you have to go down that route, you have the power to call the shots. And this is another thing, and it's another thing with British culture as well, that we don't question things as much. There are a set of rules that the other party sets and we have to abide by them. Well, that's absolute rubbish. You know, you can go to a dealer and you can say, look, you can consign my watch, but you can say to them, no, I'm not doing 30 days. It's too risky for me to do 30 days. I'm going to do 14 days. If you don't want to keep it for 14 days and see if you can sell it, then I'll go and ask the next guy. It's in your power. These are your watches, these are your possessions. Why am I saying to seek for a shorter period in consignment terms? Well, because the shorter amount of time that watch is with them, the less risk it is of them going bust or them losing your watch or whatever, anything like that. Now, if it is a Rolex, a sports model in particular, they should really, if they're a reputable company and they're good at what they do, they should really be able to sell that within the 14-day time frame. You can ask questions and you need to be more confident in doing so. Dealers also need to be more flexible, they need to be more open and answer the questions that I've just said that you need to start asking more of. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if in a few weeks, months down the line, we see this individual pop back up and has miraculously paid back all of the debt. And the problem is, many of you will believe it. You know, when this news first broke, there wasn't many people who were questioning it. Straight away, big YouTubers jumped straight on the bandwagon and were talking about it and believing it word for word as gospel. And that's because that's also human nature. We're naturally speculative of good news. But when there's bad news and it's as bad as this, naturally, as human beings, we don't question it as much. We do take it as the truth. And I think that's also another thing that we've got to take away from this. Don't believe what I'm saying until you've gone away and thought about it. You know, is this guy actually talking sense? Does he know what he's talking about? Has he got a background in this industry enough to be qualified to know what he's talking about? But for now, I think I stand with thousands of enthusiasts in hoping that the limelight returns to the real stars of the show. The masterpieces of human design and engineering that we've all grown to love. The mini works of art for which we are merely custodians of for the next generation. The Timepieces Gentleman.